A pleasant good morning to everyone and welcome once again to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Coming up on today's show, the guest menu looks like this. In hour number one, he's back. We signed him to an exclusive deal last week. Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU Game Day. He'll join me at about 10:40. He's going to be looking at week one matchups and surprise teams in the HBCU landscape. Can you believe that? Week one will be here in what? About 3 weeks. It's getting close. Then in hour number two, Ryan McGinty, Sports Information Director, Associate Director of Media Relations at Texas Southern University. He joins me at 11:03 to kind of give us an update on Texas Southern University's fall camp. Once again, we say fall camp, but it's in the dead of summer. You get the drift. That's coming up in hour number two. Charles Edmund follows Mr. McGinty, and if time permits, Jim Kleinpeter will give us a quick update. Southern University first major scrimmage of fall camp today. And I'm sure other schools in the conference, if they're not having a major scrimmage today, it's going to be close. They're coming very shortly. Here's what's trending on this week's Carlos Brown Show. Southern's first fall camp scrimmage is going on as we speak. Fred Washington out at Prairie View A&M. Holy cow, what the heck is going on? Interesting. I'm sure we'll talk about that. Box to Rose 2019 HBCU FCS poll is out. Once again, these preseason polls, you can't really disagree with them. It's good for conversation. But I'll just tell you this. 1, 2, 3, A&T, Alcorn, and Southern University. High expectations. Is that a lot of pressure? Atlanta or bust. Another team is trying to dominate the Eastern Division in the Southwestern Athletic Conference once again. And then one team, they're pretty darn good. North Carolina A&T. We'll look at that top 10. Also, I want to get into, and I must tell you the source. I got a chance to hear Charles Edmund and Coach Fred McNair at Alcorn State. And they were talking about, it was after a practice, and the heat and the humidity, the effect on student athletes. And you get into the conversation then, well, 20 years ago in the 80s and 90s, you had 2-a-days, sometimes 3-a-days. You had very few water breaks. You had people saying, what is water? You remember the movie, Remember the Titans? Water make you weak. No, times are different. Times are very different. You, from a legal standpoint, you've got to adjust with how you practice. And they were talking about that very topic. Some teams are adjusting because of the heat and humidity, and then you get into what is called a heat index. You talk about hydration. For tomorrow, you need to be drinking now. So how impactful is this heat and humidity and this heat index? Teams are moving moving practices to the evenings, the nights. Now, Southern University, Coach Owens has pushed those guys pretty hard. And we've talked about it before, years ago. Maybe you can start a week before camp to get in shape. No, sir, you can't do it now. You pretty much have to come to camp already in shape. And then the conversation came up about conditioning, but it is a difference being conditioned and in good shape, but then you got to be in what they call football shape. You got to get acclimated to that. Putting on the pads for the first time. Boy, all this stuff is interesting. Let me introduce Dr. Brother Michael Prince. Good morning to you, sir.
Well, good morning, Brother Carlos. How are you this morning, my man?
I'm all right. The question is, are you all right?
Oh.
Do you need my services?
You know what?
As far as some of my entourage and my bodyguards,
Hey,
I've been employing them for quite a while.
I might have to hire you and old brother Truck, man. Stand by. I felt a little safe, on Media Row a few weeks ago. I might have to hire you guys full time.
Well, I must ask, as your big brother. Are you okay?
Oh,
what have you been up to?
Well, I up is literally what I've been, man. With the news that broke out of Prairie View, and with some misunderstanding about, I guess, G Nation. They said Prince spreading rumors, and I was like, well, no, I didn't spread a rumor. I asked the question: could the rumors be true of uneasiness in the Grambling State camp? And then, with selective hearing, I led on to say, I said, there's going to be a whole bunch of uneasiness when eligibility lists come out from top to bottom throughout the conference. And they assumed that I was talking about players being ineligible for Grambling State. And then, oh man, I was under attack by G Nation. And my question, or not even question, response is this: don't shoot the messenger when players and coaches are tweeting out stuff and it gets out there. As investigative reporters, when we see something news and noteworthy, we share the information. So don't shoot the messenger, baby. Put a lock on your people. Put a lock on your people.
Yeah, that's interesting. So the G Nation annoyed with you, and I have the perimeter well stacked with the fan base that says, "Who wants that smoke?"
Well, look, I've been getting that of late too. I've been getting the Carlos Brown treatment, and it's all in good spirits, good fun. Because I don't take it personal. This is what makes us do what we do, And they've been asking me, do I want some of the smoke? And I happen to say, well, I like barbecue, and the flavor of barbecue is in the smoke. So yes, I would like some smoke.
Interesting. Very interesting. But you're absolutely right. We must remember, at the end of the day, you're still family. You're members of a conference. Now you like the competition, winning, and the fan base. And I can tell you, one of my first times going to Veterans Memorial Stadium in Southern Jackson State, I'm like, look at the people out here. What a great scene. And, a little bit of talk going on. I wouldn't even say trash, but just some talking. And then it kind of leads up to the game, tailgating and all of that. And at the end of the day, I felt good at the end of the night, that period. It was a terrific atmosphere and game, and of course Southern University came out on top. But that's what makes rivalries.
Oh yes,
the back and forth, and it's not a rivalry. Watch what I'm about to say. If it's one-sided, technically, hey, I won 2 in a row, then the other team comes back and win two in a row. Right.
So that's called balance. Now you do have some rivalries that are majorly unbalanced, and that's that's part of it. But I go back to my Prairie View 0-88 days. Others might not have considered us a rival, but in our minds it was a rival game, and we did the best we could with what we had, and you just kind of weather the storms. But like you say, at the end of the day, when the dust settles, but I do have to say this note. No one is untouchable when it comes to reporting. No one is untouchable. And
Investigative reporting.
Yeah, investigative reporting exclusively right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. But when we get these things, we try to be responsible. And like I said, I had 6 different separate sources. And I didn't even, if you go back and listen, I never mentioned what the rumors were. And sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. People tell on themselves. And then they'll blame you as the one that said something. And you go back and cross-reference and check anything. I didn't say not one word about any speculation. I just asked, could the rumors be true? And I could say that for any camp in the country, not just the SWAC or the MEAC, but any camp. You go from top to bottom, and there are rumors from A to Z.
Well, I know in the past there are casualties, and you kind of want to see what happens after fall camp it's over, and then you have summer school and the final grade. Some will have to make a grade,
right,
to be eligible. That has happened in the past everywhere,
right, and that's that uneasiness. That is uneasiness. You got players on the bubble right now. And when the unease, somebody asked me, well, can you explain what is uneasiness? Okay, you got uneasiness of, is your team where you projected it to be? You got uneasiness of how deep my team is going to be. You got uneasiness in the case of Alabama State, Coach Ely. We talked to him on Radio Row. He knows what's on the line. There's uneasiness there because his livelihood is on the line. Will my key players be eligible? Will my key players be healthy? There's uneasiness everywhere. Will my coaching staff be intact? So there's uneasiness everywhere. No one is untouchable.
And then when you look at it, there's high expectations for some. Some
Atlanta or bust.
Well, yeah. And to be honest with you, some of the people that told me that have not backed down one iota.
Well, so don't you think that brings a little bit of uneasiness in Southern camp? Let's see. Odom just signed an extension. It's Atlanta or bust. We got that smoke theory going on. So there's a bit of uneasiness.
Yeah, and guess what? If Alcorn doesn't win the Eastern Division, their fans are going to be in an uproar. I'll tell you what. 2 years ago, I heard Alcorn State fans. I'm just not sure, Coach McNair.
Right. Right.
But once you get they got that championship. I don't hear that talk as near non-existent. But guess what? Fans are fanatics.
Yes, sir.
Alumni sometimes are unreasonable.
Yes, sir.
Expectations. If they go down this year and they don't reach their goals, you don't think they're going to be some unhappy campers?
Expectation. If you have no expectations, don't compete. Don't compete.
So, I've had other people have said, well, are you uncomfortable with people saying Atlanta a bust? No. It's certain pressure. No matter what you do in life, there's always going to have some pressure.
Yes, sir.
Now, what will be a bit pressure, you come out and say you're 0-4 after 4 games. You've seen people take drastic actions.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Oh, my goodness, yeah. Well, if we had a radar watch in that particular scenario about Ely's situation at Alabama State, there's a strong possibility that they could be 0-5. When you look at that schedule, and you look, and I've said it, I've been on record for saying it, I'm now on even greater pins and needles with the situation that has developed at Prairie View. Okay?
Wow.
Now we got Coach Dooley going into his second season in a row without an athletic director to start the opening kickoff. And he's going to be working with a third athletic director in 2 years. That's uneasiness. So
that's no stability.
Right. Now you got to look at it. Here's pressure on this man. You coming in with great expectations. You coming in, hey man, you got to get it done. And the administrative staff that brought you here is no longer here. The one that was just replacing that one, you're getting acclimated to. Now they're no longer there. You gotta realize, man, that was probably a toss and turn at night for him. But he has to move on. He has to continue to stay focused and get ready for August 31st. But you can't tell me the human in any of us, when things change as drastically as they do, that don't create a bit of uneasiness.
So I think it's pressure all across the board.
Man, pressure all across the board. An old saying is pressure busts a pipe, and if you're scared, go to church.
And then pray and get up and fight.
Yes, sir.
So it's going to be interesting. Teams are at the point now, some of the players are probably getting to a little fatigue. Again, you can be in great condition, but then it's football condition.
Right.
And usually you'll hit the wall. Coach Odom talks about in his first fall major scrimmage today for Southern University, going on as we speak, hopefully to come out healthy and get out of it, then start tapering back a little bit. But they came out of the gate pushing real hard. It'll be interesting to see at Texas Southern, have Coach McGinty done the same thing, or has he had a little bit more patience? But from what I can gather and read from different camps, coaches expect players to come back and outstanding conditioning, and then push them a little bit, and then kind of taper off as you get closer to actual game week, and then you have your fan fest coming up, and for example, people will get excited when they hear, oh, somebody went down in practice today. Well, the heat and humidity and heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and putting on pads for the first time, like a lot of the teams did in the conference, that's not easy.
No, sir.
And I know in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, you go through all that. The humidity is very huge. It plays a big part. And so Skelton goes down, and severe body cramps. I mean, from what I was told, it was bad. So you have to be very careful. And so he's not going to participate in the scrimmage today and some others. And he'll be back Monday. But that's the point that I'm going to stress with all of the guests today. Those who have been through it, they know something about that. And how do you get through with that? Get through it. And it's very important because, I've looked at reports all over, not just in this conference. Over at LSU, they had upwards of 15 players out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's important, but that's part of the process you have to go through, and then you just have to be smart when that happens. And so, hey, you know what your starters can do. You want competition. You want the backups to be, comfortable with them if they have to come in and play. And one of the other things you can talk about is depth in this conference. Now, on the FCS level, to have some added depth is a great thing. Coach Odom talks about that on the O-line and D-line. Having depth and getting kids in practice a chance to play when you rotate some people out if, they have heat-related illnesses. So it's interesting.
Oh,
it is very interesting how you handle all of this.
No rest for the weary, my brother. No rest for the weary at all.
But it'll be worth it after you break fall camp. Then the excitement comes about. You're in game week. Then when school starts, you're getting into that mode.
Right. And that's when it starts feeling real to the players, because right now it's like they're on this island. It's just them and the guys, the coaching staff. They're going through these grueling workouts and preparation. And then you start getting that buzz when students start moving back on campus. It starts to feel like that college atmosphere. You have the excitement of your freshmen, their first time getting the chance to see the university in action. And it's just an electricity that builds up. And that's why it's critical, as you mentioned, it's one thing about to be conditioned and to get into that football shape. And you start to hit that wall. This is the time guys are starting to hit that wall all right now, and that mental toughness starts to kick in, because at this point, the physical part, is there, or you wouldn't be involved with the program. Now it's about, do I have the mental toughness to get through the heat, the mental toughness to get through the nagging aches and pains. There's a difference between being hurt and being injured. So you have to be able to have that mental toughness to climb through as you get ready for kickoff.
If you want to join in on the conversation, you can send me an email at thecolosbrownshow@gmail.com. Also, I have the Colos Brown Facebook page show open, and also Messenger. If you care to send me a question or comment, somehow I figured it would be some comments from, we'll probably hear from some Grandma Knights. Also, as I stated earlier, Fred Washington out at PV. My question to you, Dr. Prince, is there a timetable where they will try to get a replacement in?
Well, the news release, or I guess the release that came from the president's office, Dr. Ruth Simmons, said something to the effect that we're going to do a nationwide search within the next few months. That was kind of a red flag, an alarming flag for me.
Why is that? I want to see what your answer is going to be.
Well, a few months that's a long time. What a few months could be 3 months. It could be 6 months. It could be 18 months. And in the business, and we have to understand, athletics is a business. It's a business, and you always have a short list and a long list. If something were to happen, what's my go-to list? And I think there should always be a go-to list, and maybe there is a go-to list and they just saying the politically correct things because that's the era that we're in right now. You have to be politically correct. But I would love to see a shorter window, because it's too much at stake, too much money involved, and you don't want to rush through the deal. But what I want to see is a true nationwide search. And who you got. At this point right now, though, it might take a few months, because what quality AD candidates would be willing to jump into the middle of the race when the race has already started? So it could be a few months, but I'm hoping that's not the case.
Do they have an interim in place?
Yes, there's an interim in place. Alicia Pete. She's a PV grad, long-time staff member at the university, and as a matter of fact, Hall of Famer for the SWAC and for Prairie View. And so she is stepped into that role, and I'm pretty sure they're going to rally around her and give her all the necessary support needed for her to see it through. And so right now, it is some uneasiness, I'll use that term again, at Pantherland. And whether you want to admit it or not, there is some uneasiness when your leader steps down and you're not even at kickoff yet of the season for the second consecutive year. This has happened at PV Land. And like I said, that also creates uneasiness.
Well, I'll be watching from afar and looking to see how it plays out. From my experience, I've at another institution, a national search doesn't mean a hill of beans sometimes.
Right.
Here's why. In Louisiana, you have to put it out how long it'll be before, you have to open up the application process of people interested in. And then you close it, and then that's it. Then you have a committee. They'll narrow it down. If you got 100 people apply, they'll pick out the best 10, I guess, then narrow it down. But I've just seen in the past that they've had a national search, but they kind of, in certain cases, already had a specific candidate or candidates in mind. but they're required by law to do.
Right,
to open up
right.
the process. So, and I've been on both sides of those where I was happy with the results. Then it was times that I wasn't happy with the results. But
and you know what? That's going to always be both sides.
I'm not an important person, so
yeah,
the powers that be will make that, but they will make that decision. So hopefully everyone will be happy with the results.
Well, it's not even about being happy with results, because you have to accept the results and work with the results, because just because you're not happy with the results does not mean that that person is not a qualified individual. It's just the person that you thought would be qualified didn't make that mark. So that's where people have to get out of their head. If I like to listen to the Carlos Brown show over listening to the Mike Prince show, doesn't mean that I don't like Mike Prince. I just prefer Carlos Brown. But then if Mike Prince happens to have to replace Carlos Brown, don't hate because I'm not the guy you chose. Work with me and you might find out why they chose me. So, but people automatically say, well, that's not my guy, I'm not going to support him. If you support whatever base you support, whether it's Prairie View, Southern, Grambling, Alcorn, you support the institution, and every institution don't make favorable decisions on all sides. Somebody has to accept that this is what it is, and we move forward. So that doesn't mean there shouldn't be a winner or a loser. We have to accept this is what the powers that be said, and we go. And when you talked about whether it's the big scale or the small scale, Jimbo Fisher, everybody on the planet knew that Texas A&M was going for Jimbo Fisher, but they had to do a quote-unquote nationwide search.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Well, in the past, if you by law required to open it up,
yes,
and you have so many days, then sometimes I've seen these committees form. I'm just speaking from my past, and you already have some. I saw in one case, the committee did their job, and see, I'm big on the process. And that the process, if it has to be opened up for certain days, do that. And I've seen in certain cases that a committee did their job and recommended 3 people, and then they had another interview with those 3 people, and then they decided, no, we don't even want them. Maybe they have that right, but then it was a candidate that came out of the bullpen, as we said at that time, and that's the person who got the job.
Right.
Now there were people unhappy. I'll tell you another story, and it's true. And I've had this guy on the show several times, and I'll tell you his name, Coach Banks.
Mm-hmm.
I remember doing a local show. That wasn't my candidate, but I had him in studio, and I said, I'm here to help you. Whatever needs to be done, let me know. And I told him to his face that I supported the other candidate, but now that's over. Hey,
and that's being
and that's the kind of beautiful relationship we've had since then. Although now I think he's running from me a little bit, but that's all right. I'll get it.
But that's part of the entire professional process. Like you said, okay, let me throw this out here, and I don't want to get too political or anything. You don't have to answer yay or nay. I'm just going to use this as an example. The president that we have right now, some people support, some people don't support. If you're one that don't support him, do you give up your right as a U.S. citizen because you don't like the current president? I don't think so. You weather the storm, and then when the next opportunity come around, you do what you do. If you happen to be one that support, you are saying, look, you got to give this person a chance. It's the same thing as you scale this thing down. You stop looking and taking stuff personal. I don't like XYZ, so I'm going to shut down whenever XYZ shows up. And just open yourself up for an opportunity to grow personally, to grow socially, and to grow as an institution.
Well, I wish him the best. I'm sure at the end of the day, Prairie View A&M is going to make the right decision in a timely manner. And I guess it was a pleasure meeting Mr. Fred Washington.
Yeah, that's right. That was your first time meeting him on Radio Row, huh?
Yeah, very interesting guy.
Mm-hmm. And he doesn't drink Dos Equis. No, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah. Seems like a very, very smart guy.
Oh, highly
Just from
intelligent.
speaking
Highly
on him
intelligent.
briefly.
Yes, sir. Highly
Speaking
intelligent
of
individual.
briefly, I'll turn my attention to box to row top 10. And I'm trying to pull this up on my computer here. And my computer is not cooperating right now.
Uh-oh, is it misbehaving?
Yeah.
It's all right.
A little bit.
All right.
I could come back to it.
Yes, sir.
But it's interesting, you have the preseason polls that coming out, but the top three in the category was North Carolina A&T, Alcorn State, and Southern University.
So from the likes of it, it's appearing that the Celebration Bowl is going to feature North Carolina A&T versus either Alcorn or Southern. That's what I'm hearing.
Wait a minute, that's what you get out of it?
Well, if that's the top three preseason poll, two of them from the SWAC, one from the MEAC, that's what I saw or heard.
We do know it's going to be somebody from the MEAC and somebody from the SWAC. I think other teams are going to have something to say about it.
Well, I was getting ready to say, I'm pulling the famous. Go ahead and crown them then. Go ahead and crown them. They are who we thought they were.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. There are high expectations amongst some teams, and there's pressure. How do you meet those expectations? Here we go. I got it up now. 2019 Baton Rouge FCS HBCU preseason. See, one thing about these polls, though, they're preseason and it's good conversation, but we all know what? It's not played on paper.
Amen.
Yeah, everybody say that together. North Carolina A&T, number 1 pick in this poll. Number 2, Alcorn State. 3, Southern University. 4, Bethune-Cookman. And this is a football coaches poll. Bethune-Cookman. 5, Grambling. 6, FAMU. 7, Hampton. 8, Alabama A&M. 9, Prairie View A&M. And 10, Jackson State. Other receiving votes, South Carolina State, Howard, Tennessee State, and North Carolina Central.
Well, at least we're in the top 10.
Oh, yeah, I know you would be happy about that.
No, I'm not really happy about being in the top 10, but I'll take that for now because it's preseason. You got to be somewhere, right? You got to be somewhere.
Well, I mean, yeah, but North Carolina A&T, they just been doing it. They've been getting it done.
They've been consistent.
Right. And when you look at, some people have said that's the program you want to model yourselves after, North Carolina A&T. Oh, and by the way, last week I talked a little bit about Bethune-Cookman and Jackson State. I've been told by some good sources, don't you like that? Good sources?
Yes,
that
sir.
Alcorn State and North Carolina Central will be a matchup in the SWAC MEAC Challenge. I've also heard North Carolina A&T and Southern University down the line. Just give you something to think about. Because, Alcorn State, the last time they participated in it, the Lightning just kept delaying the game against Bethune-Cookman.
Right.
And they had to call the game. So Alcorn State. And I think if you're looking at that MEAC SWAC Challenge, you see certain teams that's been there multiple times.
Right.
And I think that's a reason for that. You probably look at the teams that are playing pretty good, or they travel a little bit. Now, South Carolina State, hey, they've been there several times.
Yes. Now, it's also, and I want to put this in a right manner. It's a combination of, do you really want to be there? We know it's good publicity for both conferences. And sometimes, you might have a little resistance from a particular institution. We'll pass. It's just like trying to get teams to play on Thursday nights. Everybody's not clamoring to want to play on Thursday night.
Oh, interesting. Well, okay. I've got a message here. If I can, I'll read The message, the listener says there's only one program, and one is in capital letters, that can dethrone A&T, and it's a Southern program with 100% scholarships. Oh, you're making me smile. I wonder why. But, I like to see even more competition between the two conferences.
Well, I think those non-conference
in other sports.
Those non-conference, yeah. Well, but you got to look at the monetary factor too. Now, I think it could be something done in those non-conference basketball games, but let's be honest, those are paydays for our programs. So, yeah, it would be a good draw. It would be a good competition, a good gauge, and even good competitive game. But how much money can I make off of that game? You got what I'm saying? Because on our levels, we can get you there probably and give you a chicken sandwich on the way home. But I can go out west or go out east, make $80,000-$90,000 for a game, get some travel compensation, and I come back and add to the kiddies. So when you get your 7-10 games like that, you can raise $800,000. And, maybe you could use a couple of those games that you would have at home to get some of that inner conference going on between the HBCUs. But it boils down to the financial gain that you can get from these things. And football is the most logical one right now. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I've been hearing lately. And again, I'm based in Baton Rouge. So that'll kind of give you a preference of what I'm about to say. I'm hearing more of, I want more home games. But then you have a fraction that says, well, you travel on the road a lot. You take over other people's stadiums, but then home games. Can we see that same enthusiasm as on the road?
Right.
And trust me, I'll be willing to bet, unless there's something major happens, if you look when Southern play ULL, Texas Southern will play ULL, correct, this season?
Yes, yes.
I kind of knew, and I didn't want to be cocky, although I've been accused of that. I was talking to a policeman at ULL, and he was like, well, I don't know. I don't think the attendance will come down. It won't come down today. When ULL played Texas A&M, that's the all-time attendance record. Well, I already knew that.
Right.
I said, let's talk at the end of the game. I went searched him out. When they announced the attendance, over 43,000. So you have a segment that they're prideful in that, but then also you've seen home attendance not where it needs to be. And I'm talking about Southern University.
Well, could it be based on the quality of opponent?
Well, you have a segment that says it doesn't matter who the opponent is, you should come out and support. It's going to be challenging when Edward Waters comes in and Virginia Lynchburg. Already understand that. But I'm hearing a stronger voices saying, let's pay a little bit more attention to the Pete Richardson Classic and get a better opponent in. They were talking about the times when you had hard sellouts. I've seen it just about every home game. Maybe those days are gone.
Well, no, it's about the quality of opponent.
But they're winning. There's a segment to that. But I saw in the 90s, and the Pete Richardson, it didn't matter who the opponent was. That place was packed.
Yeah, it was the same for Blackshear Stadium as well, and old Blackshear Stadium. And you got to remember, it's almost comparing apples to oranges. It's a different mindset of the fan base. There was not the social media awareness that we have today versus then. That was our Twitter. That was our Instagram. That was our Facebook. You didn't see these people unless you showed up to the game. Well, now you have a different element. And when people, and I'm sorry, but most of the people that I've encountered, not just at Prairie View, some at Southern, some through G Nation, you don't get excited to spend your hard-earned money to go and invest $20, $50 $10 to go see Edward Water or Lynchburg. I'd rather stay and monitor the game or go do something else.
Yeah, I mean, even a conference opponent.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's been a drop out. And also, I've heard, and I'm going to use him as a reference again, I've heard LSU fans say, look, man, I can sit and watch the game on ESPN. Don't have to stand in line 30 minutes to get to the restroom, 45 minutes to get to the concession stand. It's more convenient to just stay at home and watch it. Now, that's their case, but the point is everybody is, having discussions about, and attendance is down across the board, even at the big schools.
Oh, no doubt. It's
so
been
I think the days are going across the country to bring a game and through third parties. I think that's on the decline.
You mean like the classics?
Mm-hmm. Now, with that being said, I'm hearing, Detroit's got a classic, and they're inviting Southern Tennessee State. That's the talk. We'll see if it becomes official. Then we'll see. But I'm bringing up all of this is there's a discussion going on about how to get at Southern University home attendance back to where it used to be. Maybe it can't. Maybe it won't get back to where it used to be.
Well,
and it's not like Southerners, having bad or losing seasons in football. But then you can look at basketball. It's multiple factors.
Well, basketball to me is a hard sell regular season because there's so much emphasis on football in the SWAC, but basketball is a very competitive sport in the SWAC. But it's just hard to get attendance to show up to these basketball games. But back to the football deal, it's a combination, and this is just me. No doubt about it, homecoming is always going to be a good attraction because why? It's homecoming. And I think maybe we ought to start treating all our home games like mini homecomings leading up to the main homecoming. I don't know. Just create that because it has to be bigger than the game now. It has to be an event. And let me emphasize this. It has to be a family-oriented event. I got to have something for my kids to do. Maybe we need to incorporate a fun zone. Maybe we need to incorporate family packages where if you got, it's hard to bring a family out if you got 4 kids, 3 kids, even 2 kids, and you got to pay. I don't know if they have children's prices at all of them. Some do, some don't. I'm talking about the SWAC conference. And it's hard to drop off $200 just to get into a game, and we haven't eaten yet, let alone pay for parking. So there are a lot of factors that go into that.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I could be facetious and say, if Southern wins a championship, the attendance is going to jump at home.
Well, it's going to jump at home, deservedly so.
But you got to do it.
Right.
And second, albeit that's good. A lot of people settle for second. But being second all the time is not good.
No. Second is the first loser.
Well, we shall see what happens. Got to take a time out. When I come back, Brandon B.J. Jones, HBCU Game Day. He's going to talk about week 1 matchups and surprise teams in HBCU football. 3 weeks away for most. Some teams will kick it off that Thursday night. But it'll be interesting. I want to hear what BG has to say. Some teams have some tough openers. Alcorn at Southern Miss. That should be a very interesting ball game. You think Hobson and them is not going to be fired up? You think they're going to take it easy? From what I've seen going against the SWAC team since he's left, he'll run the score if he has to.
Well, he in an uneasy seat too, you know.
Yeah, and I don't feel sorry for him. I really don't. But Brandon B.J. Jones, up next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Chris, can you put the video game controller down for a second?
I can talk and play. Oh, I'm totally annihilating this punk kid in Nebraska.
I just feel like you're not acting like a grown-up in our relationship.
Him too.
Well, you still ride your skateboard to work, there's the comic book collection, the race car bed.
Look, I'm young at heart, but I put money into my 401k every paycheck. I picked up a few savings tips at feedthepig.org. I have control of my financial life now, and that feels pretty grown up.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1,000,000. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. For free ideas and easy tips on ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
So, I bet I look like a grown-up to you now.
Well, except for the footy pajamas, I'd have to agree.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Are you one of the many Americans that deal with the effects of diabetes? Diva Skin Conditioner could be the remedy that you need. Diva Skin Conditioner is a formulation that was designed with you in mind. Diva Skin Conditioner comes with a money-back guarantee. That's how confident they are in their product. For more information, visit DivaFeet.com. That's DIVAH feet.com. Or you can speak with a representative by dialing 903-270-0026.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU Game Day is back again. Brandon, good morning to you, sir.
Man, good morning, Carlos. How's it going?
I'm doing all right. I heard a knock at the door, and I thought I had a package. Maybe the Alcorn State fans have sent me some more of those T-shirts. Well, you gotta love them though. They're confident, They're ready, and they're the champions until the throne.
Yep, that's a good thing about being a champ, man. You are that until somebody can take it from you.
And there should be several teams that feel confident that they can do that, but easier said than done. But it's going to be an exciting season. And speaking of that, you want to talk about some of the week one matchups. You know it's exciting when you talk about it 3 weeks before those opening games. But what do you think, Brandon? Some outstanding week one matchups?
Oh, man, we got some good ones. We got some sneaky good ones. If you look at across the conference, you got Jackson State in the MEAC SWAC Challenge against Bethune-Cookman. That's one of my games I'm interested in looking at just because we've heard about the improvements that Jackson State has made. We've heard about the talent that they've brought in. Now do we get an opportunity to see it on the field? Is this much to do about nothing and we get the same Jackson State that we've gotten for the last 4 or 5 years? Or has Jackson State really turned the corner? And there's not a better opponent to prove that against than Bethune-Cookman, who's projected to compete for the MEAC title. They're the team that's predicted over in the MEAC to give North Carolina A&T a run for the title. They return a lot of talent. That game is going to tell us a lot about Jackson State. And then you start looking deeper into the conference. You have a Southern University going down to McNeese State. And this is a game for Southern. Traditionally, they haven't fared well against the Cowpokes down in Lake Charles. But this year, Southern returns a lot of talent. McNeese is rebuilding, new coaching staff, new offensive and defensive philosophy. If there's a time to get McNeese, the time is now. And I think that if Southern can go to Lake Charles and get a win, it would be a program statement it will be a win that will be a statement as to where Southern's program is right now. And also, it helps the SWAC, look good as far as that SWAC versus Southland matchups.
And Brandon, in the past, I've been accused of putting too much emphasis on those type of matchups, but I remember under Coach Richardson playing Northwestern State, it showed you where you were as a program. It set the tone for the whole season. You can't tell me a victory in Lake Charles over McNeese would not do those things. And discussion locally here, McNeese and Southern week 1, and then Alcorn comes to, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, comes to Lake Charles, Louisiana in week 3. So 2 of the top teams in the SWAC playing at McNeese. Do we make a whole lot about, are we making too much about that?
No, I mean, I like to see the conference do well in the non-conference games. I'm always making this statement. When you win conference games, that helps you. But when you go out and you step outside the conference and you win those non-conference games, that helps the conference. That's when you see people start to pay attention to what you're doing. That's why you have a Alcorn State who was at one point was 9-3, 8-2 last year, and they weren't getting the respect that they deserved in the top 25 polls. And it's because people look at, okay, what has your conference done as a whole? What does that non-conference record look like? So, I mean, those are things that helps raise your conference's profile. And I hope that, Southern and Alcorn can get a win over the Cowpokes this year. I think that will say a lot as far as, where we are and how far we've come. We talk about McNeese, one of the stronger programs traditionally in the Southland Conference.
Well,
so
week 1 will be very interesting. Any other matchups you see?
Oh, yeah, man. One of the ones I'm looking forward to is Texas Southern and Prairie View. We've heard about the Sauce U and what Texas Southern is building and the talent that they've brought in. Coach Dooley, year 2 at Prairie View. Remember how they started and how they finished. I think that's going to be a key game to look for in week 1. Who comes out and can get an early conference win that gives you a leg up. It's going to tell us a lot about those programs as far as, how much they have improved comparing 2018 to 2019. I expect a good contest in that game. I think that Texas Southern having a new coach there, Coach McGinty, Clarence McGinty, and the energy that he's brought to that program, we're going to see, what they have, right out of the gate in the Labor Day Classic against Purdue.
Early thing to watch, and this may sound funny, I want to see which defense has improved and which defense plays the best to kind of slow down the opposition. Because, when I think about that game, I'm thinking about offense right off the bat, explosions. Yeah. But which defense can make a statement if they can do that?
Yeah. And don't forget, the last regular season game of 2019, Texas Southern really took it on the chin to Prairie View. I mean, Prairie View came out and they flexed their muscles against Texas Southern. We talk about that Prairie View collapse down that second half of the season. The Prairie View righted the ship, and they just exerted all dominance and frustration out on Texas Southern that last game. So let's see how does Texas Southern come into that game? Do they have revenge on their minds for what happened to close out the season last year?
Well, some that were on that team for Texas Southern that's going to be there in 2019, they're going to remember, and a lot of the players that were not, I'm sure they're going to be told about it. They've already been told about that. So, good point. Interesting game and a conference game right off the bat.
Yep.
Let's see. What any other games that stick out to you, and maybe even in the MEAC?
North Carolina A&T and Elon. Elon is a top 25 team. North Carolina A&T's top 25 team is going to be an in-state matchup. North Carolina A&T has beaten Elon the last few times that they've met. But with North Carolina A&T, we're kind of losing some talent, bringing in some talent. How will they fare going against the Phoenix of Elon? That's going to be a key matchup over in the MEAC. Also in the MEAC, you have South Carolina State will be hosting Wofford College. Wofford has been a perennial power in the SoCon, small school, private school, but they've been able to have solid football teams over the last few years. They've been no strangers to the FCS playoffs, and what a game for Buddy Pugh and his staff to show how much they've improved and what they could possibly do there. So those are two games over in the MEAC, that I'll be paying attention to. And there's one other in the SWAC that I forgot to mention, and that's Alabama A&M against Morehouse. I know on the surface people go, well, Morehouse is Division II, and yada yada yada, and this shouldn't be a matchup. Morehouse brings back a lot of talent. They bring back a quarterback, running back, a star linebacker, and we're talking about a Morehouse team that was a drop pass away from going to the SIAC championship game and possibly getting to Division II playoffs. A lot of talent returns. They were traditional rivals in the SIAC. That game could be a sneaky trap game for Alabama A&M if they're not careful.
Yeah, because I guess on paper you would look at it, or from the outside looking in, you would say Alabama A&M should win this game. But sometimes, they're going to be fired up, the other team. And quote unquote they're playing up. So I'm gonna have to monitor that game and see if Alabama A&M even struggles somewhat. What do you think the conversation will be after the game?
I think the conversation is, did we kind of overhype Alabama A&M as far as competing with Alcorn? I think if you get a game that's decided by 14 points or less, I think that's going to be the conversation. But people forget, week one is just that. The biggest improvement that you'll see in the football team all year is week 1 to week 2. We have seen some questionable week 1 losses in the history of, HBCU football. And at the end of the season, we're scratching our heads and trying to figure out, how did that happen? So I'll always tell people kind of, pump your brakes based on what you see. There's no problem with being concerned, but kind of pump the brakes because these teams will improve, as the season goes along. But I think if you get a close game up there in Canton, Ohio, that's for the Black College Hall of Fame game, I think if you get a close game, I think there's going to be some rumblings and some talking about how good is Alabama A&M, and then we can kind of overhype them all summer.
Well, I talked to Charles Edmund, talked to you, talked to Dr. Prince, and I've consistently picked Jackson State number 2, and then I'm starting to think about that. Well, the prognosticator says Alabama A&M. Am I shortchanging Alabama A&M, or maybe because I'm from the outside looking in? Alabama A&M, I just see their better days ahead of them, but I'm just not sold on them yet. Help me, Brandon, why I should give them more respect.
If I was a Bulldog guy and I was, saying this with maroon and white colored glasses, I would tell you, Brother Brown, the Bulldogs have beaten Jackson State, I think, the last 3 meetings. They beat them, and they've beaten them consistently. Jackson State actually had Alabama A&M on the ropes last year. Had a big lead, got out to a big lead, and ended up losing that ball game 21-16.
Yeah, we saw that in the press box.
Yeah. So, I would say that Alabama A&M has had Jackson State's number. I think that the biggest thing for Alabama A&M, and this is something that they have the habit of doing, Alabama A&M has and they've always been like, they play up or down to the team that they're competing against. Very rarely do you see them, play against a team that they should just annihilate them. You saw them kind of get in the habit of doing that year 1 under Colonel Maynor. They handled Mississippi Valley. They handled Arkansas Pine Bluff. They had Southern on the ropes. They looked bad against Grambling. It's like they were all over the place, and you just never know what you're going to get. You hope that they come in, they play to their potential. But I think I got them in the number 2 spot in the East in front of Jackson State, because I think that right now, I think they're a better football team than Jackson State until I see something different.
Well, I'll take your word for it. Not because you're a Southernite, but because, yeah. But, a matter of opinions. I have Jackson State, number 2, just my prediction. And I make the argument because I'm going on JSU defensively, always real solid. Question mark is, will they settle the offensive issues? With Alabama A&M, quarterbacks, skilled people, running backs, receivers, yada, yada. Got all of that. Same thing I say with Prairie View. O-line and D-line. That's the question mark. And with Prairie View special teams. If they can answer that, if they can solve that, then watch out. That's kind of what I think. No, silent. I mean, in the trenches is what I'm saying. They can get that done, then watch out. You agree, Brandon, or you disagree?
I agree. I think that Alabama A&M, if there's an Achilles heel to this football team, it's the play on the offensive line. Their offensive line they've played poor at times, and that's being nice. With Akil Glass and his talent, but there were plenty of times where he was looking up at the lights. They're not good on the offensive line at all. And I know that that's something they've had to address. And if they are to compete, especially with the defense that Jackson State has, the defense that Alcorn has, defensively with Southern and even you can throw Grambling in that bunch, they have to shore that up. They have to shore up. There's no way. But I think defensively, Alabama A&M did make some strides last year. If you look at them, they were ranked 3rd in total defense in the conference, right behind Jackson State. They have improved defensively. And look at this year, they're bringing in a new defensive coordinator who was a former interim head coach at North Carolina Central, Coach Eastman, who was a defensive guru. You kind of like what they're putting together on the defensive side of the ball. The question mark for Alabama A&M is going to be is that offensive line. And I'm here to tell you, if that's the same offensive line that I saw in the maroon and white game, they look good up front. They've improved, but it's still a little shaky.
Boy, the number 2 teams in the East and Western Division, they got a lot to say. They could actually make a lot of us doubters, make the doubters rethink what they've said. But it'll be interesting. I'm glad I didn't pick them to be undefeated in the Western Division and only lose to Alcorn. You talking about pressure. You're talking about pressure, uneasiness. Dr. Prince just put it on them. Prairie View, my goodness.
So you said that the good Dr. Prince could be kind of sweating bullets that first game against Texas Southern. If things get a little bit too close to comfort.
Well, all I know is this. Everybody has pressure. Everybody has high expectations. And September, mark it down. September is going to tell us a lot. It won't give us all the answers to the questions, but it will tell us a lot. The month of September. And then November. September and November. Usually it's October. It's the hell month. Historically. But it's going to be very, very interesting. Surprise teams. You want to talk about that as well, and then we'll wrap it up.
Oh, man. In the Western Division, I think a surprise team could possibly be Texas Southern. I think they've added a lot of talent. Clarence McGinty is back home. He's back in Houston. He's familiar with the terrain there. My only question is, how does he help transform the Texas Southern program? How does he help get that fan support, get that attention, get that electricity back, to the Third Ward Tigers down in Houston? And more importantly, can he convince a team or program that historically hasn't won much, how they get them into their winning ways? They have the talent. They added a lot of talent, a lot of key pieces. It's going to be interesting to see what Texas Southern can do. But I do feel like this. I feel like Texas Southern might jump up and bite somebody this season that they weren't supposed to bite. So, and if you look at it a year ago, it very well could have been Southern. Southern didn't play their best game against Texas Southern in Dallas a year ago. And those 21-6 ball game, that ball game was a little bit closer than 21-6. So I like Texas Southern and the West as far as a sleeper team.
I would agree with that, Brandon. But if I want to be just messy, I could say after that thorough whipping of Prairie View, they kind of
51. 51.
They may have still been looking at the week prior and not focused. But no, I wouldn't say that. Texas Southern had a week to prepare, and they focused on Skelton left, right, middle. They knew it was no surprise there. So defensively, they're kind of like Jackson State. They're there defensively. I want to see what Coach McKinney will have them to do offensively, because he's an offensive guru, correct?
Yep. He's an offensive guru who's worked with some nice running backs, and it's going to be interesting to see what system he uses. Does he kind of bring the system that Kevin Sumlin had at Texas A&M and Arizona, or does he kind of has his own style? I've been hearing mixed things out of camp. So I'm interested in seeing them week one, just to see what is their identity on the offensive side of the ball, and also what's their identity on the defensive side of the ball as well. So I'm interested in seeing kind of what Clarence McKinney has up his sleeve, and kind of what the Tigers will look like here into 2019.
It'll be very interesting. May have some teams sweating.
Yep.
And I actually got an email about that. Said Texas Southern's going to bite somebody. It's either going to be Prairie View, Grambling, or Southern. He predicted one of those three will get bit in the rear. So we shall see. I hope it's not Southern. I'll be honest with you.
I hope not.
Yeah, because you know how the Jaguar Nation, they'll turn on you quick.
Yeah. I mean, you remember the temperature in the room after that all-foreign game last year, that homecoming game? Hey, we lose to Texas Southern, man. We might revisit that.
I lost to Valley, got a coach fired.
Yes.
And then you didn't score any points?
Right.
No. Southern and Jackson State, I'm telling you, don't play around with them. You could literally get fired after the game if it doesn't go in the right direction. On that note, Brandon, how can people reach you throughout the week? How can they read your material?
Man, you tune in HBCUGameDay.com. You can also follow the team, HBCU Game Day, on Facebook, the website, HBCUGameDay.com, Twitter, and Instagram. The things that I write there. You can find me on my individual page on Twitter at Inside HBCU Football, or just simply the Inside HBCU Football page on Facebook. I'm on any of those places. You can find me, and I'm going to have some great content coming over the next couple of weeks that you guys are going to really, really enjoy. So be on the lookout for that. We got season previews coming soon.
Well, I look forward to reading that material, and I look forward to having you back on next Saturday throughout the football season to get your insight on HBCU football and HBCU sports. As always, have a great weekend, Brandon. Appreciate it. And let me know if you need any security work. For special people, I'll let you have my bodyguards. Somehow I think before the season's over, you may at one point need them.
Hey, you just make sure that I got him for the State Fair Classic when Prairie View played Grambling. That's what you do for me.
Oh yeah. You might need it then.
Ain't no might to it, man.
Yeah, but don't dress incognito now. Don't dress in the disguise. Have a great weekend, Brandon.
All right, man. Have a good one, Carlos.
All right. Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU Game Day. A little bit over time. My next guest is prompt and always on time. I hope I've not ruined my chance to talk to him. So coming up next, Ryan McGinty, Sports Information Director at Texas Southern University, is scheduled up next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
One voice. It can get the point across, but it only carries so far. Add a voice. It's richer, louder, but that has limits too. Add a third voice. It's even more powerful. Add another, and another, and many, many more. And we are stronger than ever. That's the power of a community coalition. They help community groups, faith groups, civic organizations, PTAs, employers, and many others in your community organize their resources and focus them where they're needed most, like fighting to keep kids away from drugs. Ask a group that you belong to if they should belong to a community coalition. It's easy to get involved. Visit helpyourcommunity.org and they'll tell you exactly how your group can help. That's helpyourcommunity.org, because you get more when we get together. Brought to you by the Office of National Drug Control Policy and the Ad Council.
The birth of legends are storied in this conference. We must never forget our rich history. We now turn our gaze to the future. The new legends will emerge. New heroes to arise. The Southwestern Athletic Conference. Be our history.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. It is an honor to talk with my next guest, Ryan McGinty of Texas Southern University. Ryan, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing fine if I can just keep Dr. Prince in check. That's a hard job, but he likes to mix it up.
It's not too hard, Carlos. I'll get some ammunition down the line.
You know what, Ryan? I said I was going to chill out on this segment, man, but you coming out the gate swinging. What's up with that, brother?
Well, I'm going to stop swinging. But now, definitely good morning to both of you all. And it's an honor, Carlos, and I'm not being sarcastic, to finally be on your show. It's only been 20 years. I finally made it.
Well, we always talked at the Celebration Bowl, but I thought about it. I said, let me get Ryan on, and it's a perfect opportunity because fall camps have started all across the conference. So it's an honor to have you on, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
With that being said, TSU getting a lot of conversation going on social media fans with Coach McKinney being in his first year there, coming home. How has fall camp so far been for Coach McKinney and TSU?
It's been pretty interesting. And I don't like to use the word fun, but it's my first time back to fall camp in 3 years, so it has been fun. But intensity, energy out there. It's kind of like if this is his first camp. He literally was raised 5 minutes away from the campus. So it is it's kind of like, you have a new car, you're driving it for the first time, and, you want everyone to see what's going on. So, we're trying to take advantage of the hype, that we're trying to generate ourselves, because we know the first game you got to come out to shoot, because it's one of those games where, it's the bright lights on you. ESPN has picked it up. So we're trying to, at the same time, have a great camp so everyone, can see what's going on. But at the same time, they're trying to focus on some things so they can be ready for that first game. Because we all know, Dr. Prince and also, Carlos, that first game, everyone is almost, unfortunately, because you're playing your rival, everyone's going to judge you quickly.
Yeah.
So you want them to try to make the best first impression you can, even though, he's basically hired to rebuild a program that's only had that hasn't had a winning season since the early 2000s, and so we have to, there's a lot he has to undertake, but he has to do it in a short time span, unfortunately, because you know how this business works these days.
Right, and a lot of the conversation, people from the outside looking in, what philosophy are they going to run, on offense and defense? So I won't ask you that specifically, but how much of a challenge is it for him to come in and rebuild, but also put in what he wants done, and then realizing he may not have everything that he needs right now, but it may be down the line. But how has he taken this fall camp to the next level at TSU?
Well, just based on the interviews I've been able to obtain from some of the coaches, they said they had, they threw a lot of stuff at the team in the spring, and in some places it was a slow process. Other places, some units picked it up, and they're flying around the ball. So it's kind of like, one side of the coin going extra fast, and the other side going kind of slow. So they're trying to put them in the middle, and we'll see which unit responds. At time, when it's time to play, because obviously, any time when football kicks off early, you may have one unit that starts off slow in September, then October rolls around. Oh man, we didn't expect this, and then then we even talk about individual players. You don't know who would emerge, because every position's up for grabs at camp, and so it's going to be interesting just to see how it all meshes together, because they are running something different from what Coach Haywood is. So trying to get everyone to, especially if you recruit to learn one system, try and get them to learn another system, that can take time. Some guys can get up faster, and other times, how it is. I don't think he's suited to ride in this car, but we just have to make the best we can until the ride's over. So that's pretty much where it's at now.
I'm speaking with Ryan McGinty, Sports Information Director. Or do you go by the title of Associate AD for Media Relations?
No, I don't have a Senior Associate Strategic Communications title. I'm good old Sports Information. But that's a trend now. Everyone has these titles. It's across. We used to joke, and I had no problem saying it. We used to joke in the in the old days. We are Sports Information Director, and then the other days, as time went on, everyone changed their titles to this fancy stuff. And we was at the SWAC meetings a few months ago, and everyone went around their title. All these senior associates, super duper. I'm Sports Information Director. At the end of the day, that's what we are.
Yeah, well,
put the product out, keep it out there. And, it's great to have that title, but I've had a title like that before. At the end of the day, they still call you SID.
Well, I'm glad I did say Sports Information Director. Then I just thought, well, let me see if I'm saying it properly, but you've cleared that up. I appreciate that.
I'm good old Ryan. Just call me that. Man.
Yeah, I understand. Visiting with Ryan McGinty, Sports Information Director at Texas Southern University. Now, Ryan, heat and humidity, heat index. Has Coach McKinney altered any of his practices because of that, or is it basically, hey, we go at this time, unless it's inclement weather, lightning, this is the time we're going to stay at?
Well, the first practice was at 6 o'clock p.m. Wasn't that bad. Then we get a lightning strike. The very first practice. I don't know that was the whole time. But waited out about an hour last weekend and finished it up. But practices have been in the evening. So heat index has not been an issue. But they do, we had an interview the other day with our strength conditioning coach. They do some morning running or conditioning. But they're out there, they're gone by 11 o'clock at the latest. And so right now, heat index has not been a factor. Last few days, pretty much the heavy heat, the ones that make you question why you even doing certain things, it's kind of hit from like 1 to 5. That's been the hottest part of the day, and nobody is out there during that time. So fortunately, we've been able to avoid that, by doing stuff. Get up early in the morning and you finish out late in the evening.
Yeah, I understand, because it has been the talk of fall camps. Although we say fall camps, it's in the summertime. And I was just interested to see if there was any adjustments made by Texas Southern. Now, if you can, the rest of the fall camp, any scheduled major scrimmages that Texas Southern is going to have, and what's the process going to be as far as the practice and then when school starts?
I don't have a schedule in front of me in terms of the school's practice schedule, but I know scrimmages one this weekend. It'll be one of the first ones, and I tell folks, think that after that, tempo of the camera is going to change, because now coaches have enough film on all the players, and seriousness is going to pick up because you're 1 week closer to your first opponent. Kind of first week is kind of get to know each other, kind of a lighthearted. They don't have to be out there, but the intensity is going to ramp up because the scrimmage is about to come, and, they're going to break that tape down, as heavy as they can. And so I figure everything's going to really change now. They're going to start to slot people in certain positions and, try to make some decisions because, like I said, we're getting closer, and you know how it is. So I just want to make sure I stay out the way and keep everyone updated, because Coach McKinney, and you had an opportunity to talk with him during media day. One thing I know is he's a quiet guy, but he's the nicest and meanest quiet guy I've ever met.
He seemed to be very laid back, but sometimes don't be fooled by that. Very, very intense and very intense. And, and so we got it. And I got my coworker wants to come in here right now and bother me doing the interview, but I understand.
No, but definitely, he's intense, quiet, but hey, he's going to get the job done. And so it's going to be a good addition to the conference. He actually, he went to undergrad in Montana, of all places. Wow. Story behind that, because he said I was the only place in America to offer him to play quarterback. But he actually got his master's degree from Prairie View A&M, so it's kind of like, he has SWAC ties, and his high school coach was a Prairie View alumnus and Luther Booker, and he grew up on Texas Southern campus, basically. So it is probably as close you can get to a SWAC without being in a SWAC as you can get.
I understand that. As I'm looking at Texas Southern's schedule, and once again, we appreciate your time. Of course, Prairie View A&M, August 31st at Incarnate Word, San Antonio. You get to come back in Louisiana, Ryan, at Louisiana, Lafayette, and then at Houston Baptist, Alabama A&M, and then Missouri State. 3 home games. And then October 19th, Southern University in Dallas, round 2. So a very intense and attractive schedule, in my humble opinion.
Well, definitely. And it's ironic that the first month, all your games are at 6 o'clock, basically. Then after that, we don't play any more night games, so everything bumps up to 2 o'clock. But one of those schedules, you start off, like you say, at Prairie View. That game, in Texas Southern history, it can set the tone of the season. But it's been proven, regardless of what happens, the other games will mean something. And so, but you're just trying to let folks know that, your rival, and you just got to take it how it is. But that second game, Incarnate Word, the interesting storylines on that, the head coach there is a former Texas Tech assistant. Without saying too much, you're from Baton Rouge, there's a nice little story in that. Yeah, there's a nice little story in that. So, that's going to be interesting, that one. And you got UL, when I was growing up, you were growing up, it was Southwest Louisiana.
Yeah.
There's Louisiana Lafayette, now it's UL. So we'll let that go. Back there for the first time, I think first time ever. So that's going to be interesting and give me an excuse to come up I-49 to my mom's hometown. So
yeah, I understand. I understand.
Then obviously after that HBU, the Southland Conference, HBU is beating TSU the 2 times they played. And so, that's a local game, and that's a game you got to win, especially, a SWAC Southland matchup. And, not putting any pressure, but that's one of the games, all eyes are watching, because it's a local game. And then we can just fast forward. We know how conference starts when we go to A&M. But the Southern game, I was just thinking about this yesterday, Carlos. This year it is in Dallas, like you said, for the second consecutive year. But I want to throw this tidbit out. In 2003, and we had this conversation up there on campus. This game, TSU and Southern played. It used to be in late November over the years, but Robertson Stadium it's gone now, but it's been reincarnated as TDECU on the University of Houston campus. That game actually drew the stadium record back in this is 03. It's on the thing for 28,000, almost 30,000 people in that stadium. I'll find it and send you the link. But for whatever reason, it was reported as a Robinson Stadium record, ironically. So.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was at that game.
Yeah, that was the game. They kicked the ball.
Kenny Williams?
Yep, that was Bill Thomas's last game.
Wow.
He kicked the line drive punt or something right to the guy, and the guy ran right up the field. Game over.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, a lot of mad Tigers and a lot of happy Jaguars that day, but,
and also, the other event, I can't think of her name. She was the president. That was the first time I felt obligated to kiss a lady's hand, and I wasn't married with her. She was with the campus police.
Dr. Priscilla Slade.
Oh my goodness! I will say no more. Just unbelievable. She's not here.
Hey, Mike, I'm gonna be messy. Well, when you swing by the Jackson State game this year, she teased at Jackson State.
Yeah.
Ryan McGinty, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Jackson State. That's another game in itself. Unbelievable.
But if
Southern lose that game, I'm going on a hunger strike.
But the thing is, I say that game this year it was supposed to be in Houston, but it's a 2-year deal in Dallas. But I think about it, man. That game over the years has, if the moon and stars align, normally that TSU Southern game was always one of those that pop out of nowhere and will draw a nice crowd. For some reason, that Southern fans, and this will go all the way back, they show up. Winning helps a lot, but the winning Southern and winning TSU can draw a crowd. So we hope that translates to Dallas this year because, they got a lot of seats to fill in that stadium. And thinking about the Dallas market, it's a weird market in terms of HBCU football. A lot of people will try. And so we just hope we can make a good impression this year you're doing that state fair block?
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I know Southern alumni, they enjoy Southern coming to play in the game in Dallas. Dr. McCullough at the time and Southern University was able to work out a deal. I don't know what'll happen in the future as far as between those two teams, but
Right.
I'm going to say it's probably going to be home and home again. But I could be wrong.
Hey, well, whatever they decide, the team will show up. If we got to go over the hump again, we'll be there. We got to go through the state fair gate, we'll be there also. So,
I know one of the few pleasures is left in life for you to come back on the hump in Southern University's campus.
well, last time I was there, I had no problem in. I was there, but I didn't call the play, but I was on the sideline when a Baton Rouge native by the name of Jate Abear that grew up around the corner.
We don't have technical difficulties, huh?
Hey, I can tell you how it grew up around the corner. Man, he showed out in that first year of Willie Simmons era, and that was some good time. That was homecoming, ironically, and I saw some church members and folks I went to, because I did do 2 years at Southern. 96 and 98, I was in the band at Southern, so, it held a special place in my heart. But it was just a good time to walk away with the win, because 2 years before that, we was up 35. When I say we at the time was Prairie View, was up 35-14 in the fourth quarter and lost 6 to 57, and that was some sour times there. So, but now Southern, I'll say this, does no special place. My cousin played quarterback over there, and I went there as a family member to go there. So if I got a chance to come back over the hump, that's great. But we do know Southern folks love Houston, and the local establishments I love to rib y'all about a lot of times. So, well, come on in, come on back. Y'all buy a lot of tickets. We love that.
and I have a friend who lives in Houston. He's probably listening now. Nothing makes his life better than a good spanking of Texas Southern University, because he says Southern should always dominate, but hey.
Well, I'll throw this tidbit also. I know it's not a history segment, but were you in 1997, Carlos? I'm about asking our ages. In 97, were you at the game at Rice Stadium?
Yeah, I believe I was, because I met a coach on Southern's staff, Van Singletary. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. And, I believe I was at that game.
Word in high school. So anyway, but no, ironically, during halftime, there was Southern went off the field, and it was TSU's at that time. They were celebrating their 50th year anniversary from when they was founded in 47, if I'm not mistaken. And so halftime, they had a special performer with the TSU band. I'm like, no, local pop group.
Mm-hmm.
About 3 years later, you hear this song called Bills, Bills, Bills. And and Beyonce was performing live on the 50-yard line with TSU band, and she was in the stadium, and we didn't even know it. You know what I mean? You don't know who's going to cross paths with it. I know it's nice. I didn't tell you how big that game has been. How many times can say we had Beyonce perform with us?
Yeah. We could reminisce about some of the. That's what makes black college football an experience good. There's a football game, and then there's a game in the stands. There's a game in the parking lot, and at the end of the day, we still family.
Yeah.
So we still like to beat each other. Ryan, it's been a pleasure. And don't make this your last time, okay?
Carlos, you all know where to find me. I'm your person to find me. Last 3 years, y'all put me on mute for some reason. But I
heard that comment at Swag Media Day between you and Charles Edmund.
Yeah. I just look forward to it. It's fun to be back in the conference, because we grew up in the conference, and people will tell you outside of Swag, oh man, I wish we had it. like them, because it's a family element you just can't explain. You know what I'm saying? I can joke with you, and I can joke with the next person. Someone who's never been in our shoes, the joke will go over their head. Just how we operate, how we do things. Something you just expect. And your job is you expect it to move on. Don't take it personal. I think that's what makes the SWAC so enjoyable. We know there's some challenges, but I mean, hey, we know what we signed up for. So, and bam, I can dog you out just like you dog me out. But I'm just thank you for having me back on the show, and I look forward to at least helping, contribute and spreading the word of Texas Southern Athletics throughout the year, because I think it's going to be a special year, here on 3100 Cleburne, and we can't wait, and Johnny Jones, make sure to bring him back some something. I don't want to get you in trouble with some, with sponsors and stuff, but bring him something back special when you come into town.
Yeah, well, you know what? The good thing about this is he's a Louisiana native. Prairie View basketball coach, a Louisiana native, and
white went to Southern.
So our influence. Look, I say that our influence is all through the conference. I know Dr. Prince having a heart attack back there, but that's not right.
Hey, man, everybody here is grown. Everybody here is grown. And, this has been awesome, man. This has been absolutely awesome. Carry on. I want to ask Ryan a question, if it's all right, Brother Brown, if it's all right.
Go ahead.
Ryan, you of course, a PV grad. I call you a crossbreed. You've been all over the conference and outside. What's the one thing that you appreciate most being away and be able to come back and reconnect with your SWAC experience?
The biggest thing, and that I'd be able to see is understanding that we have a football history in this country and a unique history, but football specific. Because I was in the MEAC last 3 years. MEAC was founded in the early 70s. 1970, I want to say to be exact. So it's limited history, good history over there. But you talk about the SWAC about to embark on almost, I don't want to say near 100, but it's up there in age. And so being back is just a chance to tell the story. There's so many stories, and I'm echoing what Commissioner McClellan has said. There's so many stories that's out there, man, and especially how the SWAC has helped shape mainstream football. Think about it. In the segregation era, the talent that was here, and you look at all the, it was so good that it caused the major colleges to alter how they recruit because they want a piece of what we had. And then that next phase, I think the second phase, when before all these schools started adding football, we still had a base of talent. I mean, Carl can tell you. Aeneas Williams will walk on at Southern and go to be an NFL Hall of Famer. That rarely happens ever again. But you had that area where you had talent. You had to remold it and refine it, but you had talent. Some raw legit talent. And now with the era now where you can't hide talent no more, but but you have to, you have to really cultivate and find it. And you have to turn over every rock. And I just think the SWAC is influenced college football in so many ways. I think that's the biggest thing that we have to tell those stories. I mean, Carl can tell you, Dr. Prince is remember Nick Saban when it was at LSU. Nick Saban changed the way LSU recruited, because Southern would go get some of those guys from LSU and make them into stars. Nick Saban shut the pipeline down. That's rarely talked about outside of, those circles. Yeah. So just, I think we have to let folks know, yes, we've shaped history in college football to where, rules have changed, and, so I think that's a good thing, just being back and sharing that. Texas Southern, you have Michael Strahan, and the name speaks for itself, but you have a bunch of other guys who've been around that's, altered things. And so, just being back to being part of that is something you you cherish that experience. But right, Nick Saban, it changed. The Nick Saban was scared of a SWAC school because sometimes they could do stuff that they couldn't do with their kids. So that's in the history books. If I'm wrong, let me know, Carlos. I'll be able to retract my statement. But
a listener says, good point. The SEC is modern day SWAC.
Easily.
And
after Lee Michael Hayes from Baton Rouge Louisiana crossed the hump, well, all sorts of paperwork changed. Remember the Michael Hayes. They had another linebacker. I can't say his name. He was good.
I can see him now. It's from New Orleans.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! I have a middle-aged moment. Oh, somebody's gonna tell me before the show is over with. I can see the young man had the cornrows. Oh, it's about 5'10", 5. But anyway,
the play. They changed. They made. I hate to say it. They helped because LSU at that time was down with Donardo, and they brought in Saban, and they referred to their first order of business. Drop a bomb on between the 110, I-10, and they're not going that way. They can go to Grambling. They're not going to Southern. And,
and being in the same city. Yeah.
And last before I shut down too, Grambling had a chance, and I was there when it happened. It's years now I can say it now. Remember Ryan Perilou?
Yeah.
Yeah. He had we thought he was coming to Grambling. I was working in Grambling at that time. No, there was internal issues where they made sure Ryan Perilou was not going to come. He ended up at Jacksonville State of all places. You put Ryan Perilou in a SWAC at that time. Carlos, what that would have done by your class. But
absolutely. You're right.
In a SWAC. And Ricky Weeks changed the outcome of college baseball for African Americans. So. We got some stories to tell, but I'm not going to tell them all on this segment because obviously it's time for me to go. But I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all again. Thanks for bringing me on.
Well, I appreciate it, and it won't be the last time. And appreciate your perspective and insight. And have a great weekend. And watch that heat and humidity.
Oh, I definitely will. And tune in to you want to hear updates. Our website, not gonna drop it, but just go on our website and you get all the information you need on Texas Southern Athletics. Look forward to speaking with you down the line and hope to see you in Dallas and first turkey legs on you.
Yeah, and keep Chatterbox away from me. Boy, that man has so much energy. Unbelievable. I like Chatterbox.
Chatterbox is a comedian. That's all I'm gonna say. He needs to get evaluated career path. But
all right. Have a great weekend, Ryan.
Yeah, I thank y'all. Have a good weekend also, and I'll talk to y'all down the line.
All right. Appreciate it. Ryan McGinty, Sports Information Director at Texas Southern University. I'm going to take a quick time out. And Charles Edmund, I'll have him on next, but I will allow to see if there's any breaking news. Southern's first fall camp scrimmage should be over, and we possibly may have Jim Kleinpeter, contributing writer who covers Southern University sports. So I'll take a time out. Charles Edmund next, with the possibility of Jim Kleinpeter. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
I know that as parents, we work hard to do everything right. We baby-proof our homes, put our kids in car seats, and learn what to do in an emergency. Yet most parents don't know that children could be poisoned by lead paint in their own homes. Lead poisoning causes permanent learning and behavior disorders, and the culprit is usually dust from peeling or chipping lead paint, which goes from the children's hands right into their mouths. Keep paint in good condition in your home, daycare, and other places where your children live and play. Ask your doctor to test your child for lead poisoning and get your home tested too. For more information on how to address lead paint problems safely, call 1-800-424-LEAD. This has been a public service announcement from the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Broadcasters come into our lives on radio and TV, bringing us information and entertainment. Broadcasters are there for us, but who is there for them when they fall on hard times? The Broadcasters Foundation of America provides financial assistance to broadcasters in acute need due to a critical illness, accident, or other serious misfortune. If you know of a broadcaster on the air or behind the scenes who may need our help, please share our message. Visit broadcastersfoundation.org.
Are you one of the many Americans that deal with the effects of diabetes? Diva Skin Conditioner could be the remedy that you need. Diva Skin Conditioner is a formulation that was designed with you in mind. Diva Skin Conditioner comes with a money-back guarantee. That's how confident they are in their product. For more information, visit divafeet.com. That's D-I-V-A-H, feet.com. Or you can speak with a representative by dialing 903-270-0026.
Welcome back to a wild week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. I want to thank Brandon B.J. Jones, Ron McGinty, Sports Information Director at Texas Southern in the last segment. Now, our SWAC report / we're going to talk a little bit of Alcorn in our remaining time with Charles Edmund of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Charles, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Never a dull day in the SWAC, is it?
Oh, no. That's what I'm saying. You got to love it. It's fighting. It's rumors. All kind of stuff. It's never a dull moment. But if I can, I want to start. I got a chance to listen to 90% of the interview you had after practice with Coach McNair. And you were talking, I made some notes. You were talking about heat and humidity and the heat index. And Coach McNair says if it's 103 degrees of the heat index, then they're moving practice. And he talks about moving it to at nighttime. Is that a Alcorn rule? Is that a Mississippi rule? Or is that something the NCAA is wanting you to take heed to?
Well, yeah, I did kind of clarify that with him. He did say it's an NCAA rule in terms of if the heat index, and it's probably not in stone, but they're encouraging teams this time of year, if the heat index is over a certain amount, to make other arrangements, either morning practice or in that case that you heard, they had to practice at night. And I saw some of the footage of the night practice the other day. So, they have to make those decisions, and it's for the safety of the players, of course.
Right.
And next week's going to be an interesting week because high temperatures around here. I just looked at the forecast, 95, 96, 97, 98. Heat index could be 115. So I think next week, my guess is it's either going to be early in the morning or it's going to be at night, starting next week. It's not going to be, anything else other than that, to try to beat the heat and keep these guys safe, because it's going to be some dangerous heat index. But this is something the NCAA is really trying to get teams to be more aware of the heat and humidity. And then, of course, the other thing is, back in the old days, we talked about the two-a-days during fall camp. Right. That's gone. Not even two practice. They went from unwritten rule 2 a day back in the old day, to where 5-6 years ago you can go 2 every other day, but they've done away with that to where you only have a certain number of hours where you can't go 2 practices in any one day. So now you got a certain number of practices over a certain window, and that means 1 practice a day. So that means you have to accelerate your preparation. You got to be on point as you get ready for the season.
Yeah, and I think coaches in certain instances are pushing the players earlier in camp and then kind of tapering off when you have the scrimmages, like a major scrimmage. Alcorn is scrimmages today, right? Or have they finished?
Yeah, they have finished. They went this morning at 9-ish, again to try to deal with the heat. This scrimmage is a little more detailed. They're going to have one on the 24th, the week before the USM game it'll be intense, but not quite as intense. I think this is one where they really want to, cover a lot of ground, and they did, from my understanding, just to kind of, get ready for that first game. But I can tell you this, though, Carlos, based on what I've heard Coach McNair talk with the players about after practice, they all huddle up, and I think other coaches will probably say this as well. If you didn't come in camp in shape, considering the short window of opportunity that you have, the less number of hours, the 2 every other days are gone, you don't have a lot of time. And if you're behind, you may not catch up. And, Coach McNair really stressed that especially in terms of hydration. One thing I learned, being overweight is bad and being underweight is bad, because that means you're not putting enough fluid in your body. As you sweat during practice, you got to recover that fluid. And if you're not drinking and eating and putting that back in your system, it's going to affect you the next practice day. And so that's one of the things that he's been stressing here the last few days. Yeah,
you're absolutely right, because we talked about it in our number 1, heat and humidity, heat index, and hydration, and adjusting practices. And also a quick story. I remember when Coach Richardson was coaching, and it was a fall camp, at a certain point you hit the wall. Particularly, he stressed nutrition, and if you remember Coach Richardson, a quiet guy, right?
Yeah.
But when he got mad, it was like his top just it came completely off, and you had a particular, his anger was directed at some offensive lineman who he had warned them about what you're putting in your body when you're downtime. Light food, not nutrition, fruits, vegetables. And they were having a difficult time at practice, if you know what I mean. They were just throwing up all over the place, and he went nuts.
Absolutely, yeah.
All of that to say, when you were mentioning about overweight, underweight, it's particularly tough for the big linemen. And you're absolutely right. I agree 100%. You cannot come to camp and like in the old days and say, I can get in shape. You got to be ready day one.
Yep, and one thing that you notice when you walk in the training rooms, that they got all these scales. So there's no getting around the fact that you're going to step on that.
I stay away from those, but go ahead.
Got all these scales, and they are keeping track, and I'm sure that's the case in just about every program. And for this time of year, I think you're going to see hitting the wall for a lot of these teams, because now you've gone through this is kind of the third week. And I think you're going to start to see the whittling down of the roster a little bit, considering school's going to be starting here shortly. So I think practices are going to be really intense and ratcheted up here.
Yeah, and school starts at Alcorn what? August the.
It's the Tuesday after next. So not this coming Tuesday, next Tuesday.
Yeah. So
roughly 10 days to start a class.
Yeah, and then at that point, I guess players that's going to walk on, I know at Southern, as I was, you have to wait till school starts, but then you get back to that game preparation that week, and then you have those one-a-day practices. Now, in Southern case, I believe they go at 6 in the morning when school starts.
Yeah.
Because it's another thing to have, some kids getting their schedule and everybody being able to practice together what you need. In the past, they've scheduled 6 o'clock during school.
6 a.m., so 6 to 8, I would imagine, 6 to 7:45.
Yeah, something like that. So it's adjustments. And speaking of adjustments, the bullseye is squarely on Alcorn State. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, when you won the Division 5 years in a row, and you've been into 2 Celebration Bowls, and you won the inaugural SWAC championship game on campus, I mean, you've got, I talked with our offensive coordinator at length the other day. You got a senior offensive line coming back, all seniors, all veterans. They've been through the wars. You got Noah Johnson, who's a senior, and first-year offensive coordinator who told me we're going to run the football. And we're going to make adjustments as we go as defenses, make adjustments. This Braves team really is ready to go. I think we do have some guys banged up, nothing major, just the Bobos that you get in camp. But, clearly for this team, everybody knows that we are the hunted, and, you're going to have to bring your best game in order to beat the Braves, especially if Noah Johnson is on and if the running game led by Waller is on. The defense, getting after. They won the sack award last year. They got the big plaque from the NCAA, the most sacks. So the defense, although we lost Terry Winnington, was, all conference last year. He's playing for USM, so we're going to see him in week one. And so that's one of the storylines going into that week one game. But
I'd give him a special greeting.
Yeah.
In love.
Yes, that's right. It's going to be fun. And but, every team in the league is going to be coming after the Braves. You've got some improved teams, I think. Jackson State's going to be much improved. Of course, that Southern game's going to be huge. We're playing Grambling in November when they're usually rolling. So the Braves are going to have to bring it. And, one slip of the foot, two definitely, we might not get to where we need to be, but we're going to have to start out fast like we've been doing and just kind of let the rest of the conference take care of itself.
Visiting with Charles Edmund of the Alcorn State Radio Network. It's interesting. I hear from Alcorn fans, alums, and some of them have a concern. I'll put it that way. I won't say fear. They have a concern playing Grambling State, but not Southern. We understand. We understand about why Southern. But Grambling, 6-2 in the last 8 games. Going to Grambling in November, and then also, we'll get your comments on that, and then also on social media and locally here in Baton Rouge, where I'm located at, McNeese. Fans are really interested. They're taking on, quote unquote, the 2 best teams in the SWAC. Southern game 1, and then Alcorn comes to McNeese in game 3. Now, I will say this, Charles. I listened to that broadcast 2 years ago. Alcorn, I thought was going to win it.
Yeah.
They shut down Alcorn's run game. Unbelievable. But then Alcorn threw for, I want to say, 300 yards.
Yeah, they had to. I mean, and I think McNeese knew, and I'm sure they know, as we head to them in week 3, that we're going to run the football first, and they're going to be keying in on that. And I think that's these first 3 weeks are going to really tell a lot. You got Mississippi College, you got USM, and you got McNeese in the first month of the season. I think the corn will separate from the shaft at that point. You'll know exactly what you got, who's gonna make what, and who's not in the first month of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it'll be interesting to see how this team comes out as Southern. We've got obviously playing Southern at home. That's going to be interesting. Playing Bama State in Montgomery. But you're right. The Grambling game though in November, that's a first, I believe. We normally play Grambling first. Used to be the playing in Shreveport, and then the weekend of
Classic.
Yeah, and that classic, and playing them the first game or the first month of the season or whatever. To play them in November with so much you expect to be on the line in the West, which is always tight, and in the East, I mean, you just don't know. I mean, we had the slip of the foot last year when we lost to Bama State, and we got a little help to get back on track. But in November, playing Grambling, that's usually playing pretty well at that point at their place. It's going to be probably the premier game of the year, I think, at that point, if everything shakes out the way that we expect it to.
Yeah. And see, I think nobody's really talking that much about October 26th, but I can understand that because of what has taken place. But let's mark that down as well. When Southern comes to the reservation again, that may not be the only time that they play.
Right.
We shall see.
And typically, the last few years, that game has been in September. It's been early. But now we're playing Southern back in a time of the calendar that we're used to, accustomed to playing the Jaguars, kind of the midway point, latter part of October, 3rd week, somewhere in there. And that's kind of when we played Southern in the past anyway. And that's kind of the turning point. I mean, teams can really solidify their position, or if you're not where you need to be, a loss in that game could knock you out of the race. So, for that game to be where it is, it's going to be huge because whoever loses that game, if they have lost a game already in the division, they could be in a lot of trouble.
Well, you got Prairie View, as we have about a minute and a half left. Prairie View A&M, 5 p.m. Southern at 2 p.m. Charles, I'm kind of glad it's 2 o'clock. It's dark leaving there. It's really dark. I mean, after that championship game, me and my best friend, we got in that vehicle and we got the heck out of there. I mean, fireworks going off. I mean, people running. And one little girl, maybe about 10 years old, stuck her tongue out and went, nah. Okay. All right. There's going to be a day coming. But I love it. Hey, they were the best team. They earned it. And if it was flipped the other way,
absolutely,
I'm shouting.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not going to run and streak on the field, but
yeah,
I tell you what, what a happy day that will be.
I've seen both sides of it, Carlos. And yes, we've stuck our tongues out, and we've had our tongue stuck out at us. So I get it, and we'll see how it all plays out. And that's what makes this fun. I mean, is just the intensity of these rivalries in these games. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, 3 weeks left before the season starts. Charles, have a great weekend. Appreciate the time. I'll be in a little later this week, but we look forward to talking with you next Saturday.
All right, no problem. Appreciate it.
All right. I want to thank Dr. Michael Prince